by the title, we are going to be talking about Candyman and Freddy Krueger. All right, so kind of like a versus between the two. We're going to be discussing the similarities, what's similar between the two of them, and then we're going to like break down, who's better. Yeah, so let's just dive right into this video. Let's go. Alright, so of course I found some information, so we're gonna just jump right into it. We're gonna talk about both Freddy and Candyman individually and as a whole, together, and what makes them similar, what makes them different. Alright, so it says both Freddy Krueger and Candyman are iconic horror villains known for their supernatural abilities and ties to urban legends, but they differ in their own origins and methods of terror. Freddy is a dream demon who haunts the dreams of his victims, while Candyman is a vengeful spirit summoned by saying his name 5 times in a mirror. Both characters, however, were once human. Freddy, a child murderer, and Candyman, a black artist lynched for interracial love, whose tragic deaths fueled their supernatural existences. Majority of us know, anyway, the background between the two of them. So these are the similarities between Candyman and Freddy Krueger. Supernatural, vengeful spirits. Both Freddy and Candyman are figures of supernatural vengeance, driven by their past traumas and deaths. Urban legend status. Both characters are rooted in urban legends, with their story spreading through word of mouth and folklore. Both power from belief. Both Freddy and Candyman can be more powerful when people believe in them and fear them. These are their tragic backstories. Both characters have tragic backstories involving violence and injustice that fuel vengeful nature. Now, these are the differences. Okay, so Freddy is a dream demon who attacks his victims, in their dreams. He can only reach them in their dreams. I think he's weaker in the real world, I believe. Candyman, on the other hand, is a spectral entity summoned by, saying his name. So Candyman can only pop up when you say his name, and Freddy comes after you in his dreams. These are their methods of attack. Freddy uses a glove with blades and manipulates the dream world to torment and kill his victims. Candyman uses his hook and spectral bees, sometimes using hypnosis and mind control as well. Alright, and then it says humanity/sympathy. Freddy, despite his tragic backstory, is more consistently portrayed as purely evil, while Candyman is shown to be more sympathetic, a more sympathetic figure, a victim really of racial violence. Alright, so those are the similarities and differences between the two. Alright, so my personal opinion is that I like both of them. They are very different, but similar in the same sense. One has a hook, one has a glove with razors. They both are like entities. They both were human once, so they have very much similar characteristics, as I just read. So I like both. One of my favorite movies is A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I do love Candyman as well. So in the sense of saying who's better, I don't know. I don't know. But if I had to choose, I'd probably say Freddy. And then I'm gonna read right here what it says. It says determining, who's better between Freddy Krueger and Candyman depends on criteria. If we're talking about strength, speed, and durability in the real world, Freddy Krueger is generally considered weaker, as he's more vulnerable outside the dream world. However, in the dream world, Freddy's reality warp's powers give him a significant advantage. Candyman, on the other hand, is more powerful in the real world, but his reliance on belief and fear for his power makes him vulnerable if those are diminished. Alright, so here's a little more detailed background. Just something I typed in on Google. It's not to say this is 100% accurate, it's just what it says. It says Freddy Krueger's strengths is that he's a master of the dream world, capable of manipulating reality, creating illusions, and wielding immense power within the dream realm. His weaknesses, though, is that, he's vulnerable in the real world and can be defeated by traditional means if pulled out of the dream world. His power source is directly tied to the fear and belief of his victims. Without fear and belief, his power diminishes. So if you seen any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they try to reiterate that he's not real, he's not real, he's not real. And that will kind of help, help them defeat him, because like it says, Freddy, his power source is through believing in him having the control of fear over them. All right, so Candyman, his strength is, he possesses superhuman strength and ability to manifest in the real world, making him a formidable opponent. Weaknesses, though, is that his power is tied to belief and fear of others. If people doubt or forget his legend, his power weakens, kind of similar to Freddy. His power source is similar to Freddy. Candyman relies on belief and fear for his power. So in a sense, we're going to say, who is better? In the dream world, Freddy has an advantage. Candyman has an advantage in the real world, has an upper hand. So overall, the better villain just depends on context. If the battle takes place in the dream world, Freddy is likely to win. If it takes place in the real world, Candyman has a better chance. It says, but note that both characters' power is linked to the fear and belief they inspire, making them vulnerable if their legends are challenged or forgotten. So that's kind of, everything that it says as far as who they think will win. All right, I want to dive on Reddit real quick. Someone said, I'm not sure either can touch the other. Candyman is an intangible spirit that is tied to a curse, and Freddy is a spirit that took over the dream realm. Something says Freddy is way more meaner than Candyman. He's willing to go out of his way for a single person or people. Freddy isn't going to play fair and is most likely going to win in this. The only real thing is Candyman has his height and that he's a ghost. Someone said Candyman can't be affected by anything in the real world, and only his legend or in his painting can do anything against him. He's completely intangible as an entity, and his hook can phase through things, and he can somewhat slightly reality warp himself in small things to a degree, incomparable to what amounts to a pretty strong zombie, really. That's really it. I just wanted to talk about the two and their similarities and their differences. A lot of different things I'm clicking on and saying they're saying the same thing that I just saw, that I just read. So like they said, it just depends on context. It just depends on, here's something says, who would want to fight Candyman or Freddy Krueger? Someone says Candyman takes this fight 9 times out of 10. Yeah, it just depends on the context. It just depends on where they would be, whether they be in reality or a dream, So that's really it for this video. I just wanted to touch on this. It wasn't meant to go, on and on and on and in depth about the two. Just wanted to, talk about their similarities and differences, and they do have a whole lot in common. So I just wanted to touch on that, and let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Who do you think is better? Who do you think would win if they actually did a movie about the two of them, like they did with Jason versus Freddy? So let me know what you think. Like this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I post new videos every week. I was missing last week. I took a little break, but I'm back now. And we'll be back from this day forward with new videos every week. All right. So thanks for watching. Make sure you comment what you think, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. God bless.